wanted to say.
You just saw it. Well, you know, I went to Yale. That was my inspiration for Ancaster. And in a lot of respects, I had, you know, a perfectly lovely time at college. But it took me a few years after graduating to also process this undercurrent of a very horrific time as well. And I had a master, and that was something that was just normalized. They really kind of just like inculcated us into that system, and before I knew it, I was cheerfully waving to, you know, older white man and calling him master. And so it kind of struck me how perverse and bizarre and twisted and sort of funny the whole thing was, and I just had to talk about it.
It's definitely worth talking about. I went to Harvard, so I won't hold that against you going to Yale. You did such a great job casting your film. Can you talk to us about how you hone in on your stars?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you so much. So starting with Regina, I had set my sights on trying to convince her to do the film. She is just, you know, an actor that has existed in my imagination for a very long time, and I knew that she was a risk taker, you know, and I had seen her do things that seemed very outside.
Like I saw some bad movies, and I was like, if she'll do that, I know she'll do this.
Some real risks. No. I saw her in an amazing movie. I saw her in Support the Girls, and I thought that which I think did it premiere at South by? Yeah. And like what an amazing performance, and you know, so real and human, but funny also. And I knew that she was the kind of performer who can balance a lot of tones. And I was excited for an audience to see her in a horror film, which I think was a new thing. So I really hoped and prayed and got lucky that Regina was willing to take the risk. And then for Miss Zoe Renee, you know, casting the role of Jasmine was challenging in a way because I really wanted to work with a young performer. I didn't want to do the Dawson's Creek thing, you know, and work with somebody like who's like 40, you know, playing a college student.
I don't think I like that.
I mean, yeah, no shade to James Vanderbeek,
No,
but
her innocence, it was very authentic, and it was very beautiful to watch.
And I agree. What an incredible performance, and I was really looking for somebody young who could balance the charisma and the energy and the optimism of the Jasmine who we see at the beginning, which is, you know, kind of a very big Jasmine, and could also take it to the very, very small, nuanced places that Zoe was able to do so effortlessly. So I was really lucky. We were, this was before the pandemic when we were casting, or I think it was actually during it, but we didn't realize, and no one did. And we had been seeing people in person, but getting some tapes in as well, and Zoe's not based in New York, sent in a tape, and just from that tape I knew that she was the one for the role, and she came up to New York, we met her in person, and the rest is history. And I also do just want to say we have another actor in the audience.
Fisher.
Noah Fisher. Come on, Noah. There she is.
No, you want to hug it?
He's one of Jasmine's friends.
Zoe needs a hug.
One of Jasmine's friends, you know, who has some failures along the way, but in real life, a real friend.
She also has a really great voice. Earlier in the evening, she decided to sing her way to the bar, just to let
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, she does sing. So, you know, I felt really lucky to work with just like an amazing ensemble, so many great actors that I was shocked were willing to jump onto this film.
Amazing. I think this is a question that all of you guys can answer. Can you talk to us about how you balance the tones of comedy and thriller at the same time?
Who wants to go?
Regina. That's how we did it. I mean, she, on and off set, literally was just so funny, so warm. She kept the balance of, you know, working, making sure we got this movie done, but also having a really good time. And, you know, I thought even you can see that on screen. There's so many parts that we can laugh at, even though some pretty tragic things are happening. But she really just, I mean, through and through, I think we can say that she was making us laugh the entire time. Yeah. It's true.
They were making me laugh too. They're the effervescence that I used to have. No. It's different. It's morphed. But it was really wonderful to have all of them on set because it is an incredibly vibrant and what do you call it? Like new energy that's like just, I don't know, exciting.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna choke them behind stage. I promise. But yeah, it's an exuberant.
I love that. We're gonna open it up to the audience and get your questions in here. If you have any, raise your hand, shout it out.
Well, while you guys are thinking of some, great.
Why did Jasmine's hair change? Was there some symbolism there?
Oh, the question is, why did Jasmine's hair change? And is there symbolism? That's a good question.
Yeah, sure. I think, you know, Jasmine walks in herself, curly-headed cutie, and I think she notices that she is definitely a little different than all of the people that she's seen. And her biggest goal was just to fit right in and keep it moving and finish out her college experience. The one thing that I think she did not want is to feel like other. And so I think one of the ways that she could do that is to look like the people that she is seeing. So she straightened her hair.
Yeah, I think that I consider one of Jasmine's fatal flaw maybe is her real strong desire to fit in. She desperately wants to assimilate into the Ancaster student body, and over the course of the film, you kind of see her try to shrink herself, and she makes some decisions that aren't the best for her own well-being, but in this interest of just blending in. So for me, that was part of that story.
Yes, young lady in the white.
I have so many questions about the character of Liv, I believe it was. Was there some inspiration from the bullet hole? The cloak, of course, is saying she's, we're not supposed to believe her and she's part of the issue at that university, and this fascinating character and really got me at the end of the list.
So the question is just getting a sense of who Liz is as a character. Was she inspired by Rachel Dolezal? I have to say, when she first came on screen, I was like, is that Rachel? What is happening here? And then the significance of her wearing the cloak at the end.
Yeah, Liv is a funny one. And I, as you probably can tell, want to leave things, a little bit open to the audience in terms of who you believe in the story of her identity. But to answer your question, I mean, yes, Rachel Dolezal is, a fascinating figure to me. I find her hilarious on a certain level, and deeply messed up as well. And I also feel like the discourse around her got a little bit muddled in a way that was frustrating for me. But there's also, even outside of this sort of racial drag or impostership, there's also just, if you believe Liv, the kind of performative identity that being in a space like Ancaster kind of foists upon people. And I think that, one way of reading her is just that this is her way of, navigating race in the university. And, at Ancaster, it's a commodity, and she has clearly found a way to sort of exploit that and try to use it to her own benefit, and it for the most part works. So that was a little bit of what I was doing, and then the cloak moment I will also leave open to interpretation.
Okay, I think we've got time for a couple more. Yes, here in the black jacket.
I'm like double masked. My question is for Regina. I have heard you say, I think before, that when developing a character, you start with hair choice.
Yeah.
And so, Zoe's character, she went in and out of straight hair, natural hair. I wanted to understand, or you share, in the development of the character, what were the statements you were suggesting, or if any, with the choice to have natural hair?
Well, you know, Mariama and I talked about her hair a lot, and we felt that Ancaster also chose her because she looked like diversity, and she was the image of what, like, look what we've got here.
Right.
Her
And she's even got natural hair.
She's got natural hair, so I think it was, even if it was not a conscious statement of Gail, I think Gail liked her hair like that. You know, I think much about Gail is still mysterious in terms of her, the fullness of her life personally and things like that. And but I think for her, it is her connection to the sense of truth that she has maintained, although she's lost and or ignored many other aspects of her reality at Ancaster. And I think at Ancaster it works out great. So when they're making the video,
It was
she
amazing.
has her natural, they've had her braids. I mean, we look like Ancaster really is diverse. And so I think for Gail, for the character, it felt like a statement for her to represent Ancaster.
Okay, right in the back, the gentleman with the jacket, I think. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. It's so dark back there.
Question for Mariama. We know that most spaces in this country have the imprint of our ancestors and people that came before. So I was wondering, with the supernatural scenes that were happening, how you wanted us to interpret that? Were they the imprint that's, I don't want to call it historical trauma, but the things that are in all of the spaces? And my second question is, the microaggressions that happened in the film, from the woman in the lunch line, were those things that you experienced? Or, I mean, I can raise my hand on most of them, so.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's put that into one question.
All right, I will try to, because of time, give the most concise. But thank you so much for those questions. First of all, I definitely think that Ancaster is a haunted space. Having been to those kinds of places, and I mean, even if we broaden it up and think about our country, these certain kinds of sites that are married to their history. I mean, one of the Yale sells its history, to students. Part of what they tout is its age, the tradition, and all of that. So whether you look at it sort of more metaphorically or literally, there are ghosts at these spaces because the institution itself is unwilling to move into the future, and so there's this uncomfortable contradiction going on where they're making gestures towards progress, but are actually completely intoxicated by their past and their history and shackled to it in a lot of ways. And then the second was,
Microaggressions.
oh yeah, yes, oh yeah. So all, that's like, every now and then I see reviews, they're like, oh, this is heavy-handed, whatever, and I'm like, do you know, like, how much I pare things down from, like, what the real life is? You want to see heavy-handed? I can get heavy-handed, my life is freaking heavy-handed. So, a lot of that I drew from reality, and, this uncomfortable dynamic that can also occur on like this classist level as well between the staff that work at the schools and the students who are in it, and the Black students get swept up in that as well, and there's kind of this impossibility of connection, and I think that it can sometimes create discomfort that gets expressed almost hatefully because there's shame. It's like all wrapped up in shame, and everything is just there's this weird gravitational pull in a space like that contorts behavior.
That's great. answer. We are out of time, but I believe you've shared with us such a beautiful work, everybody on this stage. So if there's anything else you'd like to leave us with, feel free.
I've said enough.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Every film is eligible for an audience award, so please vote on your South by Southwest Go app. And films run until Saturday, May 19th. Thanks so much for coming and being live at South by Southwest.